Okay, welcome to part 2 of the promotion mix. So now, if we're talking about promotion, even though we spent a little bit of time specifically talking about advertising, there are also other promotional vehicles or tools we can use, such as sales promotion, public relations, personal selling, and also web and direct. Now, we could have a little debate whether these are the same thing or not the same thing. I'll save you time and energy there. I really don't think they're the same thing, but we'll get into that in a second. So the important thing is each one of these vehicles, each one of these promotional elements has pros and cons. Each one of these, and we're going to go through each one of them. So this is a good slide for you to put a little asterisk on that you can always go back and reference to, but perhaps a little more detail. Think about our goals that we want to accomplish in our IMC strategy. If there's a small number of buyers and they're relatively concentrated, we want more face-to-face or direct kinds of vehicles. If there isn't, and there's a very large number of buyers and they're dispersed over a very large geographic area, well, then maybe advertising is the best way to get there. How complex is the product? Very, very complex. Aircraft engines, you probably need personal selling and being direct. If it's not complicated, like a Coke, then guess what? And then we can think about post-purchase contact. If there's little or if there's a lot. The size and importance of the purchase, i.e. involvement. Buying a house versus buying a necktie. This is another very good reference point to decide which kinds of advertising vehicles we should use depending on our particular product, service, and what we want to accomplish. Now here's another very good chart for us to look through. If we think about the attention, interest, desire, and action stage, when we need to build awareness, that's really good for advertising. When we need to build interest, that's really good for advertising. A little bit for desire, and very little for action. Action, you need the actual getting someone to make that leap and do the actual transaction. Well, sales promotion probably is not really good at the attention stage at the beginning. This is the in-store kinds of vehicles. Couponing and discounting and rebates. We're going to go through examples of those. It's really good at getting the final, getting someone to, okay, I'm going to pick this one versus this one because this one I have the 20% off coupon here. Public relations is great at grabbing attention or interest. It's terrible at getting someone to actually buy. Personal selling and not as much in the front end. And direct, I disagree with this because I think direct is good at all of these, especially digital. So let's look at some of these in more detail. Well, we already talked a little bit about advertising. It is the most visible element of all the IMC vehicles. It's very effective at creating general awareness and interest. It's not good at actual transactions. Now, if we look at all the advertising mediums out there, okay, again, we have another one of these advantages and disadvantages slides. Television, radio, magazines, newspaper, direct, outdoor, direct. This is direct digital. This is direct non-digital. Okay. Each of these vehicles have advantages and disadvantages. I personally believe that the biggest disadvantage to television, radio, magazines, newspapers, and outdoor is it's very hard to track your ROI. The internet and some direct mail options are easier to track your ROI. Internet is really becoming a very large chunk of all the marketing. As networking television splinters, radio is becoming digital radio, magazines are relatively disappearing, and newspapers are disappearing. This bucket is getting much, much bigger. Now, public relations I'm a big fan of PR. I think it should be part of your IMC strategy. Just know that, while it's awesome to get that article in the New York Times, it's not easy to get that article in the New York Times. You can't count on it. You can't time it. You don't know what the reporter is exactly going to say storyline-wise. Maybe it's not all that favorable for you. But we do need to pursue a earned media, IMC effort. Now, in today's digital day and age, we might also try to get people to write blog posts about us. We might approach various companies to see if we can do a mashup of them and us, to see if we can get some earned media out there. PR, we can also talk about tweets and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as earned media and part of PR as well. So, annual reports is traditional, old-fashioned PR, of course, publications, newspapers, trade magazines. We can do video, we can do audio. And now we're starting to get into digital, which is what I just mentioned in the previous slide. Oh, sorry. Sales promotion. Now, sales promotion usually is aimed at the consumer the most. Sometimes it's aimed within the channel to help the channel retail partners push product or service. It's always part of the IMC mix. There could be short-term and long-term objectives. Let's look at some of these vehicles here. Okay? So we can talk about coupons, deals, premiums, awards, contests, sweepstakes, samples, loyalty programs, POP displays, rebates, product placement. Now, product placement or slotting allowances tend to be in channel, but they affect both the channel member and the end consumer. We can look at contests that can be both in channel, and contests could be both with the end consumer. Premiums can be both in channel or with the end consumers. Coupons and rebates and loyalty programs, these are great to get that consumer to pick product A versus product B in store at the end. Sales promotion can be highly effective. It needs to be part of your IMC mix. Now, I'm going to do a couple slides here on digital because digital is rapidly growing into what marketing is going to be. Marketing is getting more ROI oriented. We are starting to get stronger and stronger data both from the web and not from the web. So I like this term digital marketing significantly better than I like saying just social media. Now, email, of course, is part of this, and m-commerce or e-commerce or whatever you want to call it in digital transactions. Now, one of the most interesting things in my eyes about digital, whether we talk about websites, whether we talk about blogs, whether we talk about social media, yes, you can all laugh at this image of a Nokia, which I can't remember the last time I saw a Nokia. Okay? When we talk about digital, right, we used to talk about IMC specifically about awareness or, what stage are we going to use which vehicles and where. One of the interesting things about the promo mix, other than personal selling or other than direct, it's hard for marketing to hard for promo to also do the actual transaction. Like television, for instance, it creates awareness. Radio creates awareness. Outdoor billboards create awareness. But we could have digital vehicles that create awareness that also can be directly tied to an actual transaction. Affiliate marketing type techniques. When we talk about digital marketing, we talk about the customer interface, either UI or UX. We need to be specific about the context and content and for whom and which part of the community, and can we customize to an individual users. Same thing, can we customize the communication? How strong is our connection? And ultimately, can we get some commerce action going? It's just that digital marketing is more encompassing than traditional promo vehicles. Yes, there is search, and search can lead to both awareness or actual transactions. Sponsorships are more like ads. I'm not sure what this is. That seems kind of made up. And banner ads still exist. Banner ads are not very effective, both in mobile and in desktop or web browser. Search is still very, very strong. And when we talk about influencer type strategy, sponsorships are very, very strong. When we think about viral, the key part of this image that we have here is measuring success. I don't think any marketing vehicles in the history of marketing has been better at measuring success than digital marketing tools. And I think digital marketing tools also do a significant better job at connecting people to an actual experience, a product, or what they need. When we think about television advertising, we're hoping that someone in our particular target segment is paying attention. But when we talk about search, or we talk about sponsorships, or we talk about particular podcasts, the podcast is a very, very narrow podcast about a very, very narrow topic, and only our product, let's do a better example. Let's talk about drones, okay? Maybe you're really into high-end photography and you're looking for a particular aerial shots, okay? And you need a drone. Well, you can go into high-end photography blogs, high-end photography podcasts, and advertise specifically to that target audience without having to think about putting a 30-second commercial on some television ad that you don't know if a photographer is going to see it or not. Okay? So when we're talking about this measuring, yes, we can talk about frequency and reach. These are two metrics that we've been talking about for a long time within the advertising world. We can come up with some kind of a calculation for how effective our frequency and reach are. But really, when we're talking about metrics in today's day and age in digital, we're talking about web tracking. Okay? All right. Finally, we get to one of my other wheelhouses. Digital is one of my wheelhouses. Personal selling is also one of my wheelhouses. This tends to be a class that I enjoy teaching on both the grad and the undergrad level, doing a lot of research in this area all the time. Okay? So in personal selling, this we are talking about face-to-face. We're talking about direct connection. We're talking about higher involvement. We're talking about very large purchase size. We're cars, homes. In B2B, we're talking about, locomotives. We're talking about industrial sourcing for operations. Now, salespeople provide lots of value. Specifically, there is a relationship involved. This is the whole CRM conversation we've been having so far this semester. And the salesperson really becomes a consultant, a problem solver. This, in today's day and age, I like to call this new school selling. The salespeople aren't out there to trick anyone. The salespeople are out there to be a partner, to be a consultant, to be a problem solver, to be a mentor. When we think about the personal selling process, salespeople, they generate and they qualify leads. They come up with ways to add value. Sort of like, yes, they have to create a pitch, but the pitch is from the perspective of the client they're trying to help. Then we do some kind of a presentation or a value pitch, and we see if there are objections, we overcome them, we close the sale, and we do service and follow-up. Let's look at each one of these a little bit more in detail. So the first step is we generate and we qualify leads. Not everyone is a qualified lead. Okay, there could be, leads and there's prospects. Prospects are qualified, which means they have the money, the desire, the interest to actually purchase. Right? Sure, in today's day and age with CRM, current customers tends to be the largest bucket. We can go to conferences or networking events and we meet people that way. And I can't think of a better tool in the history of tools to find individuals that we could be helpful with than LinkedIn. LinkedIn Premium is just amazing. So pre-approach is when we as salespeople do our research. Although we find a particular prospect that is qualified, okay, we need to solve one of their problems. We need to create a value proposition that would be interesting to them. That is this pre-approach stage. And then we actually present this to them in step 3. You actually create this pitch in both a visual, perhaps this could be a webinar, it could be a PowerPoint deck, it just could be a conversation. And then part of this step is also overcoming objections that they may have. It could be quality, it could be price, it could be competition, but we prepare for these. The step 4 is we try to close a deal. That's what salespeople do. We try to get an order. In today's day and age, we never take, it used to be the case that salespeople never take no for an answer. In today's day and age, it's more about the relationship. And we understand that, okay, they may not buy now, but let's keep this relationship strong. So in the near future, when you have a need, I'm going to be the one that can be helpful for you. And then finally, we have follow-up. We talked a little bit about service quality, but follow-up, especially in a face-to-face personal selling type environment, we need to think about service quality and those dimensions of reliability and responsiveness, assurance and empathy, and seeing things from their perspective. These are things a salesperson does. If we want a relationship for long term, and we want this client to not only buy from us again, but also to say positive things about us to other potential future clients, well then maintaining the relationship and following up and being that partner after the sale is a really big deal. Finally, all of this that we've been talking about with personal selling in the last 5 or 6 slides is from the salesperson's perspective. But there is a whole nother aspect that we call sales management, and this is managing a sales force, which includes recruiting and selecting the people that you would want to sell your product or service, training them, evaluating them, keeping them motivated, and also managing the structure, like who's in which territory, who's with which clients, and which products are best with which salespeople. These are all areas of managing the sales force. Okay, now just to summarize, the promotion P has a lot of things under it. We talked about advertising, we talked about sales promotion, we talked about PR, we talked about digital, and we also talked about personal face-to-face. And depending on what your goals are, is which mix of these promotion vehicles you're going to use. Thank you very much. I'm going to wrap this up here.